Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing great today. In my previous lesson, we looked at the difference between Oracle Enterprise Manager Database Express and Oracle Enterprise Manager Cloud Control. And I did promise that in my next video, I'll show you how to install OEM Cloud Control. Now, before we go ahead to install OEM Cloud Control, we need to first install the database that we'll be using as a server, right? Because OEM Cloud Control has to be installed on a database actually. So this video will serve two purposes. First, it will correct all the installation errors that you've been having if you've watched my previous installation videos. This is another video to correct whatever error you may have been facing. Now, this installation process is what you would likely be doing in a real production environment. So I'll urge you to pay close attention to this particular installation video. And then also, this will serve as a prerequisite to install OEM Cloud Control. Okay? So as you can see from my screen, I'm already connected to the virtual machine through PuTTY. Okay, what you're seeing is a PuTTY connection to the server we want to use. So first things first, we are going to install the database. Now, before you go ahead to install the database, there's something you need to do. You need to determine the system architecture. Now, the reason why you have to do this is so that you can tell if what you have, if the system architecture you have can actually run your database software. And for that, you have to use the command uname space -m. Now you can see that my system architecture is actually x86, 64-bit actually. Now, the reason why you are doing this is so that you know what version of Oracle software to download. For me, I've already downloaded the 19C software on the platform Linux x86_64. So you want to take note of this as well, okay? Now, another requirement before you go ahead to install your database is to ensure you disable transparent huge pages. I mean, this is a recommendation from the installation documentation of Oracle. So to do that, I'll first use the command cat/sys/kernel/mm/transparent_huge page/enabled. If I say enter, you see it's showing always. You need to disable this. So how do you do that? To disable it, just use the vi command, vi space/etc/default/grub, and then hit the high to get into the insert mode. Then come down to the second to the last line, then use your right arrow key and edit this right up. To edit, you're going to include transparent_huge pages. Each page is equal to never. So this is the line you want to edit. And then when you're done, you hit the escape key to get out of the insert mode, shift and column WQ and enter to save. So now that has been done. And then the next thing you want to do is to run this command grub2-mkconfig space-o/boot/grub2/grub.cfg. And then wait for a while. Good. So this is done now. The next thing you want to do is to reboot this system. Reboot. So what that means is that when the server reboots, you reconnect as user root. Okay, so you can see that we are logged in again as the root user. So the next thing I want to do is to try to do an update just to get the latest bug fixes. So for that, I'll run the command yum update -y, and then this will take a while for all the packages to be installed. So we have to be a bit patient at this point. It might take as much as 10, 12, or 15 minutes before this update is over. So permit me to pause the video at this point till when the update is completed. Meanwhile, if you get to a point where it asks for your permission to run the update, simply type yes or Y. Okay. So at this point, I'll pause the recording until the update is completed. Okay, so we can see that the update is completed. Now that the update is completed, the next thing we want to do is to reboot this system. So I've just tried rebooting the system. Okay, so we are connected back to the server. Observe that we are connected as root, okay? So the next thing we want to do is to install the required operating system packages for the Oracle Database 19c software, okay? And to do that, we'll type the command yum install oracle dash database dash pre-install dash 19c and then enter. So this will now install all the required packages for your database 19c software. Again, this will take some time, so we have to hold on for a while, but I guess it won't be as long as the previous one. So as usual, I'm going to pause this recording so that I don't make this video too long. Once this is done, I'll come back and continue the recording, okay? So at this point, it's telling you the size of the package it wants to install, and it's asking if this is okay. So all you need to do is to type Y and enter, and then the download will continue. So we can see that the download and installation has been completed. So let me just clear my screen to keep it clean. And then we want to verify if the Oracle user was installed as well. Normally, the Oracle user is the owner of the software. So we need to verify. And to do that, we just need to type ID Oracle. So confirmed that the Oracle user has been installed successfully. Now, the next thing we want to do is to switch user to Oracle so that we can edit the bash underscore profile file. Okay. So to do that, we'll use the command su space dash space Oracle. We've now successfully switched user to the Oracle user. So what we want to try to do now is to copy the old bash profile to a new location so that we can edit it with our new file. Okay. So to do that, I'll say cp slash home slash oracle slash dot bash underscore profile. And then let me copy this. Okay. And then come here, edit, so I don't waste the time typing so long. So we are moving this bash underscore profile to this new location, and we are renaming it as old, actually. The same location, but we are just renaming the file to something different. Now that has been done. So to edit the bash underscore profile file, all we need to do is to type vi space slash home slash oracle slash dot bash underscore profile and then enter. And then as usual, I'll hit the I key to get into the insert mode. And then I'll quickly call up this file here where I have my bash underscore profile saved. Okay. So for this, I'll copy this entire thing. Don't worry, I'll attach this to the video so you can have it handy. I'll copy it so that I can paste it here. But one thing you have to understand before we paste this is that there are two extra lines that I have here, okay? The OMS underscore home. This is for the OEM software. And then this is the agent home. I decided to define them here, to make my life easier. So after installation, I don't have to always type agent underscore home is equal to this and that, export agent underscore home. No, I don't have to do that. Okay. This has been stated here already. But if you're not using this for OEM installation, you don't necessarily need these two lines here. You don't need them. Okay. But I've decided to include them because I want to make my life easier while I install the OEM Cloud Control software. Okay. So I'll copy this entire thing. Copy. So as you can see, I've pasted it here, and then I'll just hit the escape key and then shift and column WQ to save. So the next thing I want to do is to exit this session so that I become root again. So you can see I am now root again. Now, as root user, I want to add the Oracle user to the upper group. Okay. So for that, I'll use the user mod command, user mod, and then type the name of the user, which is Oracle minus A, and then minus capital letter G to the upper group. That has been done. Okay, so at this point, I want to assume that you've already downloaded the Oracle 19C software specifically for Linux x86 platform. Now, if you've done that, this is the point where you want to move it to either a staging folder or what you can call a shared folder. In my own case, it's actually in a folder that is shared between my hosting PC and the virtual machine I'm using. Okay, so you can look at my previous videos on how to do that. Okay, those are some of the steps I did not include in this video because I've already done a video to demonstrate how to do all of that. So as root user, one of the things you want to do is to create some directories, right? Now, these directories are what to hold your Oracle software, what to hold your OEM software, and the rest of them. So on this script file that I'm using, you can see that I have these directories here. These are the directories I want to create. So I'm just going to create them. I'll copy everything here, and then I'll execute all at once. You can see all of them have been created, okay? And then I have change of ownership. I have change of mode to grant necessary permissions. Okay, so now that we've been able to create these directories, the next thing we want to try to do is to switch user back to the Oracle user. Now, as the Oracle user, I want to change directory to my staging folder. You can actually change directory to wherever you saved your downloaded 19C software. For you, it might be that you downloaded it into the downloads folder of your virtual machine. That's fine. All you need to do is just to change directory to wherever you have your folder. It's about the same thing, okay? So to do that, in my own case, I will just say cd space / media / sf _ staging and then /. So this is where my software is. I already copied it into this directory. And then the next thing I want to try to do is to unzip the software. And where am I unzipping it to? I'll be unzipping it into the Oracle home. So to do that, I'm going to quickly execute this command, unzip, and then I'll give the location of the file. It will unzip the entire software into the Oracle home. So I'll just hit enter, and then we can see how this goes. So because this will take some time, I'll pause the recording until this is done. Okay, so we can see that the unzipping process has been completed. So the next thing we want to do is to log into the VirtualBox window, right? As the Oracle user. So I'll quickly call up this. Now, before we log in, let's go back to our terminal. And then let's exit from the Oracle user so we become root. And then let's change the password for the Oracle user. Password Oracle. And then the new password, for simplicity, I'll use Oracle. So we change the password of the Oracle user. Now let's go to the VirtualBox window and then log in as the Oracle user. So I'll open this terminal real quick. Sorry, I like to edit the terminal a bit. So let me just bring this to bold and then increase the font to 14 so that it can be obvious. And then I like to change the colors. Green on black. I think that's fine. Okay. All right, so the next thing I want to do is to change directory to the Oracle home. So for that, I'm using the command cd space $, observe there's a dollar sign in front and then Oracle underscore home in capital letter. So this will move me to the Oracle home directly. And then the next thing I want to try to do is to run installer. So for that, I'll do dot slash run installer. Now take note that installer has capital letter I, so that you don't make this mistake of just typing one word run installer without a capital letter I, and then you have some issues. So I'll just enter and then wait for the interface to come up. As you can see, the installer just pulled up right before our eyes. Now, what we want to try to do is to set up software only, because we'll eventually customize this database. So we set up software only. And then we click on next. Now we are installing a single instance database, okay, and not a rack database. So we'll leave it at the default single instance. Click on next. Yes, we'll leave it at enterprise edition. Then we click on next. You can see by default, the Oracle base has dictated the location. So we'll just click on next. Again, by default, inventory directory has been detected. And then we click on next. At this point, we click on next. So we're going to check this box to automatically run the configuration scripts. And then for us to do that, we'll provide the root password, okay? So I'll just go ahead and provide the root password. Take note that the root password is for the root user of the operating system, okay? Then go ahead and click on next. So after the prerequisite checks, you see a summary page. Now, one of the things you can do is you can save this response file so that you can use it in subsequent installations. You can just modify it a bit and use it. Or you can just go ahead and press the install button, okay? But for me, I will not save the response file because, I mean, this is just a practice. But if you need to do a silent install, then you need to save this response file so that you can use it much more later. So I'll just go ahead and click the install and then wait for the installation process to complete. This will take some time, so I'll pause the recording and come back to it when the installation is done. Now at 63%, you get this message. Okay, this is coming because you instructed the software to automatically run the configuration script. So I'll just go ahead and click yes to grant permission for that. And then you can see that the installation was successful. Now, the next thing we're going to do is to actually create the database. We've just installed the software, okay? So let me close this for now. Now, in a real life scenario, in a production environment, after installation, what you will need to do is to apply the latest release update, okay? Before you go ahead and create your database. So, but I'll skip that because this is a practice. So I'll go ahead and type DBCA so that it can launch the database configuration assistant. Now on this page, you want to click create a database, okay? And then click on next. On this page, there are two things I'm going to do. I'm not going to create this as a container database, right? Because we want to use it as our OEM server. So I'm going to click on advanced configuration and then click on next. Now for the database type, it's going to be single instance database. And then I'll click custom database because I want to customize this database. I'll click on next. And then for the global database name, I'll put it as oemdb.local domain. And then the SID will be oemdb. Again, I'm going to uncheck this. I don't need it created as a container database. Now, the reason I'm doing this is very simple. If you create this as a container database, it means that you will install your OEM in a pluggable database. And that's what I don't want to do. I want to install it directly on our database. So I'm not creating it as a container database, okay? I'll go ahead and click on next. And then I'll come here and click use the following for database storage attributes. And I'll also check use Oracle managed files. And then I'll click on next. I'll click on specify fast recovery area. And then I'll give the size as 10 gig. And then I'll click on next. Now, because we've not created any listener for this database, I'll click on create a new listener. The listener name should be listener in capital letter. And then I'll click on next. At this point, I'll uncheck all of this and leave only Oracle JVM. Okay. And then click on next. Leave it at the default use automatic shared memory management. And then size this to 2390. And then your program global area to 797. Now for your sizing, look at your processes and then increase this to 500. Click on next. And then leave this checkbox, configure Enterprise Manager EM Database Express. Leave the default port at 5500. Click on next. And then at this point, I'll click use same administrative password for all accounts. And then I'll input the password I want. For the sake of simplicity, let us use Oracle. But in a production environment, you must use a strong password. And then I'll click on next. This message is coming up because of the simple password you chose. So go ahead and say yes. Leave the default create database checked. Click on next. So this is a summary of everything you chose, right? Again, you can choose to save this as a response file and use it much more later if you want to do a silent installation, or you can just go ahead and use the GUI interface. Because this is a practice lecture, I'll just go ahead and use the GUI interface. So I'll click finish. Now the process has started. Database is in creation. And as usual, this will take some time. So I'm going to pause the recording and come back to it once it's done. Okay, guys, as you can see from our screen, the database creation is complete. Now, the next thing I want to do is first point you to all of these details, right? You can take note of all of these details. For instance, your global database name, and then your SID, your SP file name, and then your EM Database Express URL. Well, if you're going to be using this database as your regular database, yes, you can take note of this and then monitor it with your Enterprise Manager Database Express. But you know that the sole reason why we are installing this database is so that we can install Oracle Enterprise Manager Cloud Control. Okay, so that will come with its own URL. All right, so let's go ahead and close this. And then the final thing I want to do for this part of the video, because this video is going to be in two parts. This is part one. Now, in part two is when I will install Oracle Enterprise Manager Cloud Control. But the final thing I'm going to do is to configure auto restart script. Now, the reason I'm going to be doing this is because most times when you shut down your server and start it up again, your database is not started by default. You have to start running your commands to start up your database, right? So with this auto restart script, especially if you don't have Oracle restart configured, you will need this auto startup script or auto restart script to help you start up your database whenever your server is shut down. So you don't need to start typing all of the startup commands again, okay? All right, so to do that is very simple. We're going to go back to our PuTTY session. So I'm back to my PuTTY session, and then we'll ensure that we are logged in as root. So as you can see, I'm logged in as the root user. Now, the next thing I want to try to do is to view the Aura tab file. And to do that, I'll just say vi space /etc /Aura tab and then enter. Oh, we have an error. I can see that I did not give the space. So Sorry about that. Let me correct this. And then we are here. Now, as usual, I'll just hit the letter I to get into the insert mode. And then I'll come down to this line, the very last line. The first thing you want to take note of is the fact that this is capital letter no. So you want to change it to capital letter Y. Okay. And then hit the escape key, shift and column, WQ, enter to save. So that file has been edited. And then the next thing we want to do is to create a file known as /etc/init.d/dbora, and then we'll add a script to it. Okay. Like I said, don't worry, I'll attach all of these scripts to the video when I upload so you can have access to them. All right. So to do that, I'll use the command vi space /etc/init.d/dbora. And then again, to use the VI editor, before you start typing, you hit the letter I to get into the insert mode. And then I have this script saved here. So I'm going to copy it from here down to this point. I'll copy it. And then I'll paste it here. Escape, shift and column, WQ to save. Now that is done, the next thing I want to do is to change the group. I'll change the group to oinstall, okay? And to do that, I'd run the command change group, oinstall, and then I'll give the location of the file. That has been done. And then the next thing I want to do is to change the mode so that I can set the permission to 750. So I'll just quickly edit this. Use the change mode command and then type in the permission and then the location of the file. Now that is done. And then the next thing I want to do is to create symbolic links to the dbora script. So for that, I have 3 lines of code or 3 lines of command that I can use. This is the first one. This is the second one. So I'm going to copy it. And then I'll do the same for the last one. Copy, and then I'll paste it and enter. Now I'm done with this. So the next thing I want to do is to reboot the system. As usual, once the system comes up, we have to reconnect again. So click OK. Okay, guys, so our system is up and running again, and I'm logged in as the root. But what I want to do right now is to switch user to the Oracle user. Okay, let me be sure that by default, our database is started. So for that, I'll do su space Oracle to go to switch user to the Oracle user. I'll use the command ps -ef space grep pmon. Okay, from our output, you can see that OEMDB is up and running. So that confirms that each time our server goes down and then we start it up again, the database will be started automatically. So with this, I don't have to always type startup, but if I eventually shut down my server, for instance, and start it up again, it means my database will also be started automatically. So guys, I don't want to make this video too long because I feel this installation video is already too long, right? This is going to be part 1 of the installation process for our Oracle Enterprise Manager Cloud Control. In my next video, we're going to start the process of installing Oracle Enterprise Manager Cloud Control on our database. Guys, thank you for staying tuned. Thank you for watching this video to the end. I hope this video was interesting to you. If it was, please like it and share it widely. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out whenever I upload another valuable content. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.